Every star leaves a mark, some through laughter, some through unforgettable performances, and others by shaping the stories we cherish. Today, we honor American legends whose lives touched millions, whose work defined generations, and whose legacies will never fade. From the brilliance of the stage to the magic of the screen, their journeys remind us that while life may end, true artistry lives forever. This is American Stars Who Died Recently. Some actors shine in leading roles, while others bring unforgettable depth to every part they play. Today, we honor a man whose presence enriched television, film, and stage for more than half a century. A director, a performer, and a beloved character actor, he was a true craftsman of storytelling. This is the life of Jerry Adler. Jerry Adler was born on February 4, 1929, in Brooklyn, New York. He was born into a family with deep roots in theater. His uncle, Jacob Adler, was a legendary Yiddish theater actor, and his cousin Stella Adler became one of the most influential acting teachers in American history. Growing up in this environment, Jerry's path toward the stage seemed destined. Theater was in his blood. After finishing school, he pursued a career in the arts, first working behind the curtain as a stage manager before stepping into the spotlight as both a director and actor. Jerry's early years were spent working on Broadway, where he honed his skills in production and stage direction. He directed musicals such as My Fair Lady and The Apple Tree, and he became one of the most respected stage managers of his generation. His career in theater taught him discipline, precision, and the importance of collaboration. He understood not only how to act but how to make an entire production run smoothly. This background gave him a unique perspective when he later moved into television and film. Jerry Adler's greatest fame came in the later years of his career, when he took on memorable roles in television. He became widely recognized for his portrayal of Hesh Rabkin in HBO's groundbreaking drama The Sopranos. As Hesh, a longtime friend and advisor to Tony Soprano, Jerry brought nuance and humanity to the world of organized crime. His performance was subtle yet powerful, grounding the show with wisdom and authenticity. Fans of The Sopranos still recall his scenes with fondness, where his presence often provided both gravitas and a touch of humor. Jerry also had recurring roles in The Good Wife, where he played Howard Lyman, a senior partner whose antics brought levity to the courtroom. His comedic timing reminded audiences that he could balance drama with laughter effortlessly. In addition to television, Jerry Adler appeared in films such as Manhattan Murder Mystery, 1993, and Prime, 2005. He often played supporting characters, wise, quirky, or authoritative, and each time, he left an impression. He was one of those actors whose face and voice you might instantly recognize, even if you couldn't always place the name. That, in itself, is the mark of a true character actor, someone who enriches every story without demanding the spotlight. Away from the stage and screen, Jerry was known for his warmth, humor, and generosity. He married and raised a family, balancing his demanding career with his role as a husband and father. Friends and colleagues admired his dedication to both his work and his loved ones. Even in his 90s, Jerry continued acting, proving that age could never dim true passion. He brought energy and authenticity to every performance, inspiring younger actors with his work ethic. On August 24, 2025, Jerry Adler passed away in Los Angeles, California, at the age of 96. He died peacefully, leaving behind a career that spanned more than 70 years. He was laid to rest in New York, the city where his journey began, surrounded by family and friends who cherished him. Tributes poured in from across the entertainment world, remembering him as a kind man, a consummate professional, and a performer who made every project better. Jerry Adler's legacy lies in the countless productions he helped bring to life, on stage, on television, and on film. He showed us that supporting roles can be just as powerful as leading ones. That a well-delivered line, a subtle expression, or a moment of humor can enrich an entire story. He gave us Hesh Rabkin in The Sopranos, Howard Lyman in The Good Wife, and countless other characters who live on in the hearts of fans. Jerry Adler lived 96 years of art, humor, and devotion to storytelling. He was a Broadway director, a beloved actor, and a man who never stopped creating. Though he may no longer grace the stage or screen, his spirit remains in the productions he shaped and the characters he brought to life. Rest in peace, Jerry Adler. Your presence will never be forgotten. Not every legend is seen on screen. Some work behind the scenes, shaping the stories, guiding the voices, and making the choices that bring unforgettable films to life. Today, we honor a man whose vision changed Hollywood forever. He was a producer, a studio head, and a leader whose decisions created some of the greatest movies of all time. This is the story of Frank Price. Frank Price was born on May 17, 1930, in Decatur, Illinois. He grew up in the Midwest, in a world far removed from Hollywood. Yet even as a young boy, Frank showed a passion for storytelling. He loved books, radio dramas, and movies, the magical way stories could transport audiences into new worlds. After attending college, he began working in television during the 1950s, when the medium was still in its golden infancy. What started as a job would soon become a career that spanned 6 decades and shaped the entertainment industry. Frank Price first made his mark in television. He worked as a writer and eventually a producer for shows such as Playhouse 90, one of TV's most prestigious anthology series. His ability to spot good stories and develop them into compelling entertainment became his hallmark. By the 1960s, he was climbing the executive ladder, moving into leadership roles at major studios. His television background gave him a deep understanding of audiences, pacing, and what made stories resonate, knowledge that would serve him well when he transitioned to film. In the 1970s and 1980s, Frank Price became one of the most influential executives in Hollywood. He served as president of Columbia Pictures and later as chairman of Universal Pictures. In these roles, he was instrumental in greenlighting projects that became cultural milestones. Among the films he supported and oversaw were Tootsie, 1982, a comedy classic starring Dustin Hoffman; Ghostbusters, 1984, a cultural phenomenon that blended comedy, sci-fi, and adventure; Back to the Future, 1985, one of the most beloved films of all time, launching a legendary trilogy; Kramer vs. Kramer, 1979, a moving drama that won the Academy Award for Best Picture; The Deer Hunter, 1978, a powerful Vietnam War film that also won Best Picture. Frank had the rare gift of identifying projects that were not only commercially successful but also critically acclaimed. He understood how to balance art with entertainment. Frank Price's career was not without risks. He believed in giving chances to unconventional projects, trusting creators, and pushing boundaries. While not every gamble paid off, his willingness to take risks resulted in some of cinema's greatest successes. He had an eye for talent, championing directors, writers, and actors who went on to become legends in their own right. Many in Hollywood credit Frank with helping to launch or sustain their careers. Outside of Hollywood boardrooms, Frank Price was known for his intelligence, his warmth, and his love of storytelling. He married writer Catherine Crawford, and together they shared a passion for literature and the arts. Frank often spoke of how important family was to him, even as he managed the immense pressures of the movie industry. Despite his powerful positions, he was respected for his humility. He preferred to shine the spotlight on the filmmakers and actors rather than himself. On September 2, 2025, Frank Price passed away in Los Angeles, California, at the age of 95. He died peacefully, leaving behind a legacy of films that continue to inspire and entertain audiences around the world. He was laid to rest in a private ceremony, surrounded by family and friends. Tributes poured in from across Hollywood, as producers, directors, and actors remembered him as a man of vision, courage, and integrity. Frank Price may not have been a household name to the average moviegoer, but his fingerprints are on some of the greatest films ever made. When we watch Marty McFly race through time in Back to the Future, when we laugh at the chaos of Ghostbusters, or when we are moved by Kramer vs. Kramer, we are witnessing the results of Frank Price's courage to believe in those stories. His legacy is measured not only in box office numbers, but in the joy, laughter, tears, and inspiration his films brought to millions. Frank Price lived 95 years of vision and leadership. He gave us films that shaped our culture, characters we'll never forget, and stories that will live on for generations. Though he worked behind the scenes, his impact was front and center in the magic of cinema. Rest in peace, Frank Price. Hollywood shines brighter because of you. Comedy is a gift, the ability to make people laugh, to lighten their burdens, and to bring joy to the world. Few comedians have done this with as much wit, subtlety, and brilliance as Bob Newhart. With his unique style, his stammering delivery, and his perfect timing, Bob didn't just tell jokes, he told stories that made us laugh, think, and remember. Today, we celebrate the life and legacy of a true American treasure. George Robert Newhart was born on September 5, 1929, in Oak Park, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago. The son of George David Newhart, a businessman, and Julia Pauline, a housewife, Bob grew up in a middle-class family. His childhood was typical of the time: family dinners, school, and church. After high school, Bob attended Loyola University Chicago, where he earned a degree in business management in 1952. He served briefly in the U.S. Army during the Korean War, working as a personnel manager. For a time, Bob lived what seemed like an ordinary life. He worked as an accountant, even as a copywriter. But all along, he had a knack for humor. He found the absurd in everyday situations and entertained friends with his dry, witty observations. What began as a side talent soon became his life's calling. Bob's rise to fame was nothing short of remarkable. In the late 1950s, he and a friend began recording long, humorous phone conversations as audition tapes. When his partner dropped out, Bob continued solo, perfecting his trademark style: the hesitant stammer, the awkward pauses, the straight man delivery that made ordinary situations hilariously absurd. In 1960, Warner Brothers Records released his debut comedy album, The Button-Down Mind of Bob Newhart. It became an overnight sensation. It topped the Billboard charts, beating out even Elvis Presley. It won 2 Grammy Awards, including Album of the Year. Bob himself won Best New Artist. No comedian before had ever achieved such success with an album. Bob Newhart had arrived, not with loud punchlines, but with the quiet, subtle humor that would define his career. Bob transitioned seamlessly into television, where his understated comedy became a perfect fit for sitcoms. In 1972, he starred in The Bob Newhart Show on CBS, playing psychologist Dr. Bob Hartley. The show was a hit, running for 6 seasons. Fans loved Bob's calm, befuddled demeanor as he tried to make sense of both his patients and his eccentric friends. In 1982, he returned with another sitcom, Newhart, in which he played an innkeeper in Vermont. This series ran for 8 seasons and ended with one of the most famous finales in television history: Bob waking up in bed with Suzanne Pleshette, his wife from the first show, revealing the entire series had been a dream. This clever ending is still celebrated as one of TV's all-time great moments. Bob later starred in Bob, 1992, and George and Leo, 1997, proving that audiences never tired of his humor. Bob's talent extended beyond sitcoms. He appeared in films like Catch-22, 1970, and Elf, 2003, where he played Papa Elf, delighting a new generation of fans. He also made guest appearances on shows like ER, Desperate Housewives, and The Big Bang Theory, showing that even in smaller roles, his timing and presence were unmatched. Over his career, Bob Newhart was celebrated with numerous honors. Grammy Awards for his groundbreaking comedy album. A Primetime Emmy Award in 2013 for his guest role on The Big Bang Theory. A Kennedy Center Mark Twain Prize for American Humor in 2002. A star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. But more than awards, his greatest honor was the laughter he inspired in millions. In 1963, Bob married Virginia Quinn, the daughter of actor Bill Quinn. They remained together for more than 60 years, a rare example of lasting love in Hollywood. Together, they raised 4 children. Bob was a devout Catholic and credited his faith, along with his wife's support, for keeping him grounded throughout his career. Known for his humility and kindness, Bob Newhart never let fame change him. He remained the same quiet, witty man who found humor in the ordinary. On July 18, 2025, Bob Newhart passed away in Los Angeles, California, at the age of 95. He died peacefully, surrounded by family. His passing marked the end of a remarkable era in American comedy. Bob was laid to rest in a private ceremony, with friends, family, and colleagues remembering him not only as a comedian but as a devoted husband, father, and friend. Bob Newhart's legacy is one of subtle brilliance. He didn't shout his jokes or rely on slapstick. Instead, he made us laugh with hesitation, with pauses, with the humor of a man trying to make sense of a confusing world. He influenced generations of comedians, from Jerry Seinfeld to Jim Gaffigan, proving that sometimes the quietest voices are the funniest. Bob Newhart lived 95 years filled with laughter, love, and legacy. He was a comedian who made history, an actor who brought us unforgettable moments, and a man who gave the world the rare gift of joy. Though he is gone, his voice, his timing, and his humor will echo forever. Rest in peace, Bob Newhart. You made the world laugh, and for that, we will always be grateful. There are actors, and then there are legends. Men whose performances define not just films, but entire eras of cinema. With unmatched intensity, versatility, and dedication, one man has given us some of the most unforgettable characters in film history. Today, we celebrate the life and career of one of the greatest actors to ever walk onto a set, Robert De Niro. Robert Anthony De Niro Jr. was born on August 17, 1943, in Greenwich Village, New York City. His parents, Robert De Niro Sr. and Virginia Admiral, were both artists. His father was an abstract expressionist painter, while his mother was a poet and painter. Creativity was in his blood. Raised in the heart of New York, young Robert grew up surrounded by the city's energy, its grit, its noise, its stories. From a young age, he showed a fascination with performance. At 10 years old, he appeared in a school play as the Cowardly Lion in The Wizard of Oz. The applause lit a fire in him that would never burn out. He studied acting at the Stella Adler Conservatory and later at the Lee Strasberg Institute, immersing himself in the craft of method acting. Every role he would learn required complete transformation, body, voice, and soul. Robert De Niro's early film career began in the 1960s, with small roles in low-budget films. But everything changed in the early 1970s. In 1973, he starred in Mean Streets, directed by Martin Scorsese. The role of Johnny Boy, a reckless young criminal, introduced De Niro to the world and began one of the greatest actor-director partnerships in film history. Just a year later, he delivered a stunning performance in The Godfather Part II, 1974, playing the young Vito Corleone. His transformation was extraordinary. He studied Sicilian dialect, mannerisms, and culture to embody the role. The performance earned him the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor, cementing his place in Hollywood. What makes Robert De Niro extraordinary is his absolute dedication to transformation. For Taxi Driver, 1976, he famously worked as a real cab driver in New York for weeks, absorbing the rhythms of the city. His portrayal of Travis Bickle, a lonely, unstable Vietnam veteran, became iconic, with the line, "You talkin' to me?" etched into film history. For Raging Bull, 1980, he gained and lost over 60 pounds to portray boxer Jake LaMotta through different stages of his life. The performance won him the Academy Award for Best Actor and is still considered one of the greatest in film. From The Deer Hunter to Cape Fear, from Goodfellas to Heat, De Niro demonstrated time and again that no role was too demanding, no transformation too great. While De Niro is often associated with crime dramas and intense roles, his range as an actor is astonishing. He showed his comedic side in Midnight Run, 1988, Analyze This, 1999, and Meet the Parents, 2000, proving he could make audiences laugh just as easily as he could terrify them. In recent years, he has continued to evolve, delivering acclaimed performances in films like Silver Linings Playbook, 2012, and The Irishman, 2019, once again reuniting with Martin Scorsese. Even in his 80s, De Niro remains active, taking on new projects and showing the same passion for his craft that defined his early career. Robert De Niro's career has been showered with honors. 2 Academy Awards, The Godfather Part 2 and Raging Bull. Golden Globe Awards, Screen Actors Guild Awards, and numerous international honors. In 2009, he received the Kennedy Center Honors. In 2016, he was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by President Barack Obama. He is also the co-founder of the Tribeca Film Festival, created to revitalize Lower Manhattan after the 9/11 attacks. The festival has since grown into one of the most important film events in the world, highlighting his love for both cinema and his hometown. Off-screen, Robert De Niro is known for his privacy and humility. He is a father, a philanthropist, and a proud New Yorker. Despite global fame, he has always kept his personal life grounded, often shying away from the spotlight outside of his work. Colleagues describe him as meticulous, generous, and deeply committed to the craft of acting. Younger actors see him as both a mentor and an inspiration. Robert De Niro has lived 80 years, and counting, as one of cinema's greatest treasures. From the streets of New York to the grandest stages in Hollywood, he has given us characters we will never forget. His work reminds us that acting is not just performance, it is transformation, truth, and art. He is not only alive, but thriving, continuing to shape film even today. Robert De Niro is not just an actor. He is an icon, a legend, and a reminder of the power of cinema.